Hi, I'm Joe Miller. I'm the founder and director of Smarty Grants and a founder of Grant Chat, owner and CEO of J. Miller and Associates, a consulting firm focused on grants, strategy, and social media for nonprofits in the public sector. Today on All Things Grants, we'll be digging into leadership, its theory, and its practice. Michelle Loftus is here with me. Michelle, please introduce yourself and share a few of our logistical matters.
I would love to. Hi, my name is Michelle Loftus. I'm an associate of JM Grants and owner of Arcadia Grants. So a couple of logistical matters. First off, we are recording this, and we're going to keep the seats locked during this interview portion. Then we're going to open it up a little later. If, though, something that Joe or Zachary says makes you have a comment, makes you have a question, please type that into the question box, and we'll make sure we get to those. And then, like I said, a little bit later, we'll open it up, and then we would love it if you would jump on in. Love great discussions. Secondly, you'll see below each of us, there are the little hands, and those are to show props. So if you like what someone's saying, show your appreciation by clicking on the little hands. Finally, we would love it if you would share on your either Facebook or through Twitter. So you can either, on the left-hand side, tell a little bird, and that will send out a Blab notice to your Twitter followers, or you can send out via Facebook too. We'd love it if you'd let everybody know that you're interested and you're watching this Blab. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you very, very much. I am trying to post a tweet. Seems to be slow today. All right. Great. So I know I get to say this every week, and every week I am really delighted, but I'm going to add like 10 reallys in front of that. I'm really, 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 really delighted to welcome our guest, Zachary Jeans. Zachary's an independent strategist and founder of Tourizing, a consulting firm that delights in bringing clarity to the enterprise software world, with particular expertise in Salesforce ecosystems. Zachary is the #1 Salesforce influencer on Twitter. That's amazing. Zachary is also co-host of Lead with Giants, a leadership chat that meets every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Zachary, thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I want to get us started. We just came over from Grant Chat, which is a Twitter chat about and for grant professionals. Mm-hmm. And so you'll hear us mention on Grant Chat, somebody said something. So that's what that's related to. We come from Grant Chat over to All Things Grants on Blab. So let me get started with our first question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in the topic of leadership.
So I found myself in leadership roles ever since I was a little kid. Although I was always leading from the bottom or the middle. I was a little kid, got picked on in grade school, but it always seemed like there were these opportunities where I wanted to see something happen. And so I had to figure out creative ways to gather people around an idea and to come together for a common purpose to achieve it. And then as I grew up, I found myself in sports and wanting to take those roles as well. And then, as a professional, just actually growing to really care about seeing people that are led poorly and wanting leaders to lead well, and for those people that they're leading to be cared for well. And so throughout my professional career, I've just looked for groups and situations where I see that happening. And and so Lead with Giants is a great group online that meets from all over the world and is all about standing on the shoulders of giants that have gone before us so that we can see farther. The whole idea that we're all learning from those who have gone before us on how to lead well. And
Oh my goodness, guys. I'm interrupting this broadcast to say that we have the giant here.
Hey, there's Dan.
Dan, hello. Will you be able to stay with us for a little bit longer, Dan, so that we can bring you in after I ask Zachary a few questions? Nice. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope Dan can. That'd be
I'll
awesome.
get to a couple more. Maybe I should I'm just going to open it up for you, Dan. You can come on in. I'm going to ask Zachary a few more questions. Oh, okay. Well, if you want to come on, I'll say yes.
The power.
I've been there. I've been in my sweats,
Yeah.
ponytail, or that's the thing about live streaming. So, and I think actually Dan's invited me on one time, and I said, nope.
Yeah.
There he is.
I don't know.
He did ask me to show my desk one time.
I need to shave. I'm
Yay! Good.
Yay!
But hey,
You look great. You look great.
Yes.
Thanks for popping in. Well, we're going to be asking a few questions of Zach. So,
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, Dan Forbes is the one who started Lead
Yes.
with Giants. He is the giant.
He is
so,
the founder.
I'm
we are so lucky.
Small
And he-
Giants.
And he's also a very good and a very good and consistent blabber. So definitely
Yes.
follow him on Blab. He's great. So I'm going to ask another question for Zachary right now. You asked our Grant Chat community this morning to sum up their theory of leadership, and we had great responses. What would you say is your theory of leadership? And then if you want to ask Dan any questions, just go ahead.
This is awesome. So essentially, I think that leadership has a couple of responsibilities. The first and foremost is to assess a situation and speak truth into that situation with love. A part of that assumes that you're going to listen and that you're going to observe with those two things in mind, truth and love. The truth part, because you can't build anything on lies, and you can't build on anything on false perceptions, right? It'll collapse at some point. The second part is that love is that you're taking care of the individuals that you're leading, or even leading up to the people that are above you in an organization. So if you have all the truth in the world about your organization or your team, and you don't care about them, and you don't care about how that end outcome will impact people, then those truth results will actually fail, because people aren't machines. So I also think that it's the responsibility of the leader to gather vision from the group, but also I think that leaders are uniquely qualified in that they have this ability to synthesize and see a little bit farther than maybe the people that are in the group. So they're able to declare a vision, a horizon of what's out there, and share that story back to the group. And as a group understands that vision of what's out there, what's beyond their immediate surroundings in the company or the organization, then they can start to take steps forward to that place. So speaking truth and love, sharing vision, synthesizing vision, and walking forward.
Excellent. Thank you. And I love love. And I think that oftentimes, we've been trained or thought to leave that aside, that's too personal.
Right.
And it is personal. Everything's personal. And the more that you can bring love and kindness and respect into everything that you do, the more you're going to get that back, and the more it's going to be shared. It's just going to ripple out. So, Dan, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I love love too, and
Love.
I would usually use the term caring and
Sure.
related to leaders caring for those that they lead. And interestingly, I was having a conversation with somebody recently about command and control style of leadership. There's a lot of different styles of leadership, and there's a different time and place for those styles. And we've seen leadership evolve over recent decades to see more of an emphasis, for example, on servant leadership and collaborative leadership and leadership that does express caring and love, and less command and control style leadership, especially in large corporations. But there's a time that you need someone to execute the command and control style. If you don't believe me, ask Fred Albay in
I love him.
Giants group.
They'll
Military
tell you.
military background. Absolutely, you need someone giving commands and barking out orders. Or if the building's on fire, you need a command and control style leadership. But the conversation that I was having with someone was basically, well, the larger the company is, the more likely you are to find a CEO or executives who are still using primarily command and control style leadership. And I think that that's one of the things that's wrong with a lot of the companies.
Absolutely.
And I think,
and I have a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and I think that Dan's right with the whole terminology around love. It might be, you might use the word love, and we think of, the mushy kind of love, like, the real heartfelt, caring, sympathetic, empathetic love. But it might be practical love in that, what is the most loving thing to do in this situation? That might be barking out an order, like, get out of the way, the car is coming. So that's love embedded in a, forceful statement. Hey, get out of the way, move, we got to go. So yeah, I think love doesn't necessarily have to be all wrapped up in the emotion, but it can be what's behind your decision-making process. Is there that care? Is there the empathy for the other human being?
And it's about walking the talk, I think, as well, right? So I was, I was part of a Fortune 15 company. I wasn't an executive by any means. And the company, had its values posted up on a poster board, plaque on the wall. It had its training, and it had its communications that came out. But when it came to walking that talk, that was a different story. Sadly.
And that disenfranchises everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons I left.
Sure.
Wow. And, one of my mottos is target progress, not perfection. And interesting enough, if I start to target perfection, my motto still works. It just reminds me to go the other way. So I have another question for you, Zachary. What is the most practical thing you believe leaders can do to help others succeed? Practical.
So this probably comes up. This is probably the number one answer in Lead with Giants and informally Lead with For Men, another great leadership chap.
I think that's where you and I met.
Yeah,
I think that's where I met both of you.
Lolly Daskell. Well, anyway, I would say in any leadership chat that I'm involved in, the number one thing that gets liked, retweeted, reshared, said is, I wish leaders would listen. And so I think what is a very practical thing a leader can do when you're in a group or when you're one-to-one with somebody that you have the responsibility to be a leader in their life is to listen. And that doesn't mean just pure silence. That can be active listening. That can be Socratic method, helping ask questions leading towards the truth. But your goal is to listen, to try and get a bead on where they're at, what their situation is, and then help show a context with that information. Sometimes people like to just hear themselves talk. And that's no less true than with leaders sometimes. They just want to say their maxim. They want to give their approach. They want to tell you how it is. But that's great. But if you don't know how that's integrating, then you're not going to see a transformation. That's the key to transformational leadership, is that you hear, you observe, you assess, and then when you speak into that person's life or into that situation, you have the intelligence how to fit what your information is into their situation. So I would say the number one practical thing is to listen.
Excellent. Dan, what do you have to add to that?
Would you restate the question?
Sure, of course. Happy to. What is the most practical thing you believe leaders can do to help others succeed?
I respectfully take the fifth. No, I was watching some that pharma guy that was doing that.
Not leadership. Anti-leadership.
Yeah, when it comes to practically, it's simply modeling. You have to be a leader. You have to show people what it means to lead. Sort of going back to what I was saying earlier, that you walk the talk. If you Say that you're going to do something. Do it. I don't care what it is. If you say, I'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock, don't make it 9:15. Be there at 9 o'clock. Unless you have an emergency and you communicate, hey, by the way, I'm running late. I'm not going to make it until 9:15. To give you an example, so I had a senior leader who often said to many of us in the company as a group, if there's ever anything that I can help you do to grow your business, let me know. I'm here to support you. By the way, I've got some tickets to a football game coming up. If you want these tickets to use with clients, just send me an email. And I would send an email, or I'd raise my hand, say, sure, I'd love to have those, and then never hear back. Mm-hmm. Now, once, okay, I can, well, maybe he didn't see my email, he got busy. Twice, I don't know. But that became, that was a habit of this leader who would say, hey, I'm here to support you. I want you to help grow your business within our business because you work with the clients. And whenever he would say, I will do this or do that, I knew that I could not depend upon that. So I love the idea of listening, but and add to that, do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, walk your walk, walk your talk. Yeah.
Excellent.
And isn't that funny? I don't have a PhD in leadership, and
you should.
Zachary, I don't think you do either. Leadership really isn't hard. If you look at a class of kindergartners playing, you're going to pick out one or two of them who are leaders of other people. John Maxwell's definition is that leadership is influence. And all of us influence somebody around us. It could be in your household, it could be where you work. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. And it's really, really not hard to demonstrate leadership. And I believe that we are all leaders and we can all become better leaders. Many of those who think that they are leaders because they have a title are least qualified of them all.
And what's interesting is I also see the reverse, that people who don't have the title of leader think they're not leaders. But if you say, do you influence people? Do you make things happen? The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. And then you say, well, then you're a leader. And sometimes that's a burden to people. They don't want to be a leader even though they are. They like the servant leadership. I think having those two words together can really help someone own their leadership that might not otherwise identify as such. Excellent. I love all of that. So this is for both of you. Zachary, you can go first. What are your top 3 go-to leadership books or even blogs that you recommend to people?
Ooh, that's a great question. Top 3 leadership blogs or books.
Do you want Dan to go first?
I think that, and this is a weird one, but I think Linchpin by Seth Godin is probably right up there. And partly because it's a personal branding, self-positioning book. But in that book, he talks a lot about figuring out what it is that you are uniquely passionate and good at. And then honing in on that and realizing that you yourself have a linchpin relationship with other individuals and or companies to offer them. And so through that, there's a self-development and a leadership process that has to occur in order to realize that linchpin, that idea that you're a necessary part in that context. Another one I like, it's funny. I love to read the leadership blogs that get posted because I am associated with League of Giants. I see all the leadership posts that come through. And so it's really hard to nail down one. But, there's usually people like Mark Wager, Cynthia Bazin, Susan Thorne, they're always writing on topics that are relevant with context of our current times and situations. So that's another place that I really enjoy reading.
And
a third one. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
That's great. Actually, let me name one more. And this is, I would say this is more corporate-y, but I do promote Salesforce quite a bit. I do a lot of my work in the Salesforce ecosystem of business. And as top heavy as it is to say that the CEO is a leader and inspiring, I think Mark Benioff does do a pretty good job of guiding, shepherding a massive corporation with giving out really practical advice, whether it be talking about women in technology or giving back through grants programs, foundations. I think he does like embodying leadership, like literally in charge of a large corporation. I think he does a pretty good job. So I enjoy reading his stuff as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great. I'm so glad that we record these so I can go back and listen to them and take notes and get the links and put them out there. Thank you so much, Zachary. Dan, what are your top 3 books?
Yeah, so I had more time to think about it than Zachary. So Zachary didn't mention the Bible.
Well, that's true. I would say the Bible as well.
Wow. What leadership stories.
So much.
And you can take something like the Talmud and other religious writings, but you take the Bible, the Old Testament, Moses and Abraham. Just read about those guys. Jesus in the New Testament. You don't have to be a Christian to see how he gathered 12 men around
Influence.
him, and only for 3 years he poured his life into them. He
right.
called them the disciples. And they took the message of Christianity around the world, and Christianity is the largest religion in the world. So, wow, what power that was, and shows that you can just pour yourself into a small group of people and multiply the message. So to me, that has, on everybody's radar. And then Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a classic, and I've read that book many, many times. Anything also by Mark Miller, at Leaders Serve is his Twitter handle. One of his most recent book was Chess Not Checkers. Mark Miller is an executive with Chick-fil-A, a great company that certainly epitomizes good leadership. And so I love the work that he has. And I've got a whole bookcase of leadership books, and I have books that are sent to me, and I host blog post authors on leadwithgiants.com. Matter of fact, I have where's the book? Well, don't see it. It's around here somewhere. I have an interview coming up on Blab on Thursday with a couple of leadership authors. So it's hard for me to pick favorites.
Right.
Those are a few things that came to the top of my mind.
Excellent. Thank you. So for those of you that are on the recording, getting a little feedback. For those of you that are on the recording, Dan Forbes is Dan V. Forbes. That's his Twitter handle. You can go find him on Blab and follow him and follow his Blab. Subscribe to them to get more information and to really experience leadership with other leaders. All right.
Yeah, thanks for letting me.
So, Michelle, did we have...
Zachary?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Joe, good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
We did have one.
So we have a question.
Yes, that kind of came over from Grant Chat. Several people mentioned struggling with knowing when to be a leader and when to be a worker bee, which I thought was a really interesting topic, and I would love to get both Zachary and Dan's take on that.
Well, I would say
being a good.
Go ahead. I'll defer to Zach.
Oh, I was just gonna say, being a good follower is sometimes being a really great leader. Knowing when to serve. leadership is about seeing an opportunity and meeting that opportunity, and then demonstrating that. So sometimes the best thing you can do is, if you already see clear leadership in a situation, the best way you can be a leader is by supporting that leadership. You may twist or augment it a certain way to kind of like show how it might better be done. But in general, you might actually serve the group better by not raising your voice above the noise of the group, but rather just, putting your head down and getting to it.
Dan?
Yeah, so leadership or worker bee. A leader is a worker bee, and a worker bee can be a leader. I remember reading a story, I think it was by John Maxwell. Don't remember the CEO, don't remember the company, but I remember the CEO was on the factory floor and he was being given a tour of for whatever purpose, and there was a piece of trash on the floor. So here are these 6 or 7 or 8 guys, all in line, going with the CEO, and one person stopped to pick the trash up off the floor, and that was the CEO, of course. Whose job was it? It's everybody's job.
Yeah.
And the best of leaders are also the best of servants. So leaders serve others. Yeah. So a person who is on the front line, for example, in a company, especially the front line that is facing customers and interacting with customers, sometimes have the greatest leadership opportunity that even the CEO doesn't have.
I think that this is a little tiny bit off topic, but I think valuing what you just said, that the person on the front line has more leadership influence, has changed dramatically with social media. We can see that, if I get great customer service, I can tweet out something. Right. My interaction with the company is with that person right there, and they represent the whole company and therefore are the face of the leadership. So do you think that social media has changed our culture around leadership and servant leadership?
Well, I've had the same experiences. I had a problem with credit card issue with a bank, and when I tweeted it out, they responded very quickly, more so by Twitter than they did when I called customer service. And and I've done that with Verizon as well. 2 or 3 companies that when I've mentioned it on Twitter, I've gotten a very fast response. So companies that are smart, they have their ears in tune on social media to pick up what their customers are saying out there.
Mm-hmm. And I think they're also empowering their staff to be leaders. It's the customers pushing that change for companies. I think I have a feeling. I just had that. I had a great experience with Delta and just tweeted something out about the customer service rep that I was talking to, and he was a fantastic representative of the organization and really showed excellent leadership skills and taking care of me. So I think that's.
Well, we used to.
It'll be interesting to see how that changes
things. Yeah, we used to say that if a customer is satisfied, they're going to tell someone else. If they're dissatisfied, they're going to tell 20 people. But now,
right?
You've got, I've got right now, 40,000+ Twitter followers, and 100 and thousands of followers on social media. So if I put that out there on social media, nowadays it's not just 20 people that are dissatisfied,
right?
Selling, but it's thousands of people. And let me give an example, if I can, about Chick-fil-A. So, and this is not a good example. I love Chick-fil-A. I love the company, and I think they do most everything right. Recently, though, Chick-fil-A, I stopped by, got a to-go order, and had a large Diet Coke. And then going down the road, I reached over to pick it up out of the cup holder, and it was a styrofoam cup, and my thumb went right through the side of the styrofoam cup, and now Diet Coke is just spewing everywhere, and I have to pull over. And I put something out there on social media, and actually was directed. Now, they didn't answer me on social media. They directed me to a website that I could explain what happened. So I did that, and I thought, you know what? They don't want this to be a public conversation.
Right.
I went to the website, put the information in. Actually, a day or so later, I got a call from the manager of that store. And I thought, well, this is impressive. You know, he said, you know, we apologize for that happening. We realized that we were having problems with a certain vendor, and the cups were substandard, and we have new ones on order. They should be here any day. And then I waited, and nothing else. And I thought, don't I get a free replacement drink?
Sandwich? Something? Yeah.
Free chicken sandwich? I mean, I appreciate the all, but you know, what about the Diet Coke that went everywhere? So I went back to that store the next week, and I'm waiting in line again outside. Now I thought I'm gonna give them another chance. And so the people taking the order, I told them, here's what I want. And oh, by the way, I was here last week, and here's what happened. Oh, we apologize. Right. We had some bad cups, and that's all taken care of now. Yeah. No replacement drink. So it was good. You know, it was great that they had someone personally call me, the manager of the store, but they missed the opportunity. I'd rather be saying, hey, guess what? They gave me a free chicken.
Yeah. Exactly. And there are so many opportunities out there for great customer service and leadership, and we all miss them from time to time, and that's why this conversation is so important.
Well, listen, guys, I got to take off. Thank you for inviting me on. You guys did a great job with this lab. Michelle, Joe, Zachary, put the good work. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, we had a question for Dan. I'm sure he does read Gary Chapman. You'll have to go over to his blab on Thursday and ask him, Roxanne. That'd be great. All right. Well, I think that's the gist of our questions. We covered a lot on Grant Chat today. I cannot wait to go back and see the Story 5. And I can't wait to actually look at the recording of this and get all of those recommendations that both you and Dan had. So I'm going to close out here. Zachary, we really enjoyed getting to know more about you and your insights about leadership. Thank you. Oh, we're so lucky. I know how busy you are, and for you to take this time out of your day, out of today to do this, but also to all the work that goes behind the scenes to get the questions out and everything. For those of you in the audience, either on the recording or here live, just know that all of our guests put a lot of thought and energy and work into making Grant Chat and all things grants happen. So they're here. Talk about servant leadership. That is an excellent example of servant leadership. So at the heart of what we do at Smarty Grants, we help do-gooders do good great. And so I appreciate you reminding us how important leadership is, and for helping us think through how we can all be leaders in whatever industry or career we're in, both at work, in our families, in our communities. So thank you so much, Zachary. You live leadership. You live servant leadership. And it is such a privilege to call you a friend and to know you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I am amazed. You guys do really, really, really amazing work with Grant Chat. I love it. I love to be there every week.
Oh, thank you. And as you know, as a community manager, your chat is only as great as your community.
That's the truth.
So, I mean, we invest time and energy in it, but if people don't come, it's not great. And if they don't have great things to say, if they're not interacting, it's not great. And we are blessed by our Grant Chat community. We are so blessed, and I think they bless each other too, which is so fun to see. So I also want to say a very, very special thank you to Michelle Loftus for her behind-the-scenes work to support Grant Chat.
My
and
pleasure.
All things grants. We also have Bethany on here. Bethany helps me with Grant Chat, not a little bit, but she helps me every week with some stuff with Grant Chat behind the scenes. So thank you, Bethany. And to our audience and participants, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to join us on Twitter for Grant Chat every Tuesday at noon Eastern. And then we head on over here to Blab for all things grants at 1:05.
Yeah.
Takes us a few minutes to get this started in the recording on the same page. It takes a couple of hours for them to get that done, and then it's there for the recording. You can also find the recording here on Blab. So for all of you grant seekers and grant makers, get and give grants and do good. Have an amazing week, and thank you for tuning in today. Goodbye.